Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is back in the media. Well, a big interview dropped earlier on today as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was speaking to Gary Neville and Roy Keane, two Manchester United legends, and of course, two other Liverpool, Arsenal, and an English legend in women football, talking to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the former Manchester United boss, for the first time in a long time. And boy, didn't he drop some interesting comments there in that interview. Well, we'll talk about those. But guys, I asked you a question. Who is the most popular or perhaps best Manchester United manager post Sir Alex Ferguson? Welcome to the United Hotspot. It's the night show yet again. Always a pleasure to be here to talk about Manchester United. Thank you so much for being right on time as I do drop you this poll concerning Manchester United. You know, I always want to do the poll with you. So, who is Manchester United's best manager? Best manager post Fergie. And of course, I'll give you the options: Ole, Mourinho, Ten Hag, Van Gaal. Who else did we have? Who else? Moyes. There you go. That's the poll. Who is Man United's most best manager post Fergie? That's the poll. Now, one of them who I know for a fact is so popular among many United faith supporters is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And guess what? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has appeared in the media talking about the reality, the truth with Cristiano Ronaldo and his return back to Manchester United. A lot was said about that. I dropped a video earlier. You can go into at length in that, but I'll talk about it as well in a bit. Well, I will also talk about his statements about the dressing room. And for me, this is the most interesting thing he said, a biting expose of the rot inside the Manchester United dressing room, because we've had so many players who lack the personality and character to be Man United players. Boy, it's certainly annoying. A very good evening, good night, Web. Ernest Kavuta, are you going to sleep? The show is just starting. Are you going to retire? Ernest, what's happening? Are you ill, my brother? Are you okay? How are you saying good night? You're going to sleep? Well, Samuel Taura, Ole the best. Well, you can go in the poll and comment to Taura, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the best. AK King says, please say something meaningful. I am yet to hear what you mean by your caption. I don't know what you mean by my caption. I don't get it. Always shocking revelations. Well, we'll get those. Ernest Kavuta, during LVG, we was playing good football for sure. Dixon, Camilo, Banda, always better than Ten Hag. Interesting stuff. So here's the thing. So Ole is back in the media, in the press, and is talking. And by the way, guys, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is also on the list of those who are looked at as potential managers who can still come back and coach Manchester United. And this interview gave me reason to believe that Ole was loved at Manchester United. We all believe and know that. I think of all managers who were at Man United post Sir Alex Ferguson, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the one manager who brought smiles on faces of players. We felt like players were enjoying their football. I think even as supporters, as we were watching Man United, we watched United with interest because we felt the players were enjoying their football. And that's what he said in this interview. He comes out and he says the first thing he wanted to do, because he was first given an interim spell. If you remember, he was first going to be there for 4 months. Then after that, he was confirmed. He said the first thing he told the players is just go out there and enjoy your football and play like Man United. Attack, believe in yourselves, and enjoy yourselves. That's what he told the players. And in fact, he said at one point after that meeting, he was walking out of the meeting with the players. Then he eavesdropped Ashley Young saying, finally, we've got a manager who wants us to play football, who wants us to play like Man United. I think for the longest time, he had not had a manager at all at that time say something like that. Each manager was coming and trying to create and change Manchester United into something new. Now, that's the thing about these legends, and if you're a good manager and you're a legend of the club, you will know the roots and stick to the roots of the club. Solskjaer made it clear that players had to be happy. And that's why you remember, if you watch United games during Ole, all players were enjoying themselves. Even if we are not winning titles, but you think that we're almost there because we finished third and second. The next step is to try and go into the title competitions. And just after a short while, he's fired. And he said he felt it after I think it was Wigan. After the Wigan game, he felt that it was coming because we had lost to Liverpool 5-0. Then Man City beats us at home, I think 2-0. In between there, we had beaten Tottenham Hotspur, but he felt that he it was coming. What style was Ole playing? I felt like Ole was playing a proper, a proper, sort of. Uh, it was not up there yet, but I thought Ole was playing an open, proper United game because the one thing is for me, we looked expressive as we were playing. We were direct. I thought for me we were more proactive than Eric Ten Hag wants to make us believe we are with this team. For me, I thought actually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played a simple game. He didn't complicate football. For me, I liked that. Sir Alex Ferguson has never complicated football. Man United has never been known for complicated, very tactical football. It's about enjoying and knowing that United has got to attack you to the bone and beat you, play with swagger and confidence and that arrogance of Man United. I thought a little bit, whereas we didn't have perhaps the players to give that to us fully. I thought there was a bit of arrogance and that came with expression. And so even if we had players like Fred and in the team, you still felt these players had belief in themselves and what they were doing. So for me, I'll say, but you look at this Manchester United team under Eric Ten Hag, I don't see expression. I don't see joy in these players as they play. The players are just fighting. So even talented players are just fighting. They're not enjoying their football. For me, that's a big problem. But Ole, clearly, true to who he is, he brought smiles on the players' faces with this style. So he also speaks about the decision to bring back Cristiano Ronaldo. And he said at that time he believed it was the right decision because, like I said, after him finishing third, then second, he said, "Do we now go up and take it a notch higher and go to shoot for the title?" Because that was the next step to go as the manager. And he said, "What do we do to do this? Are we ready?" They assessed the squad: Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea. They thought they had the fourth best squad, but thought with bringing Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho, who was hot and flying at the time, and Cristiano Ronaldo, who has got the character and the legend of the club, that would lift the entire squad and they would fight and be more firing. Now, it did not work, he says, and he says perhaps it was a wrong decision because of how it ended. It was a wrong decision for Ronaldo to return. But if you ask me, I actually think Ronaldo's return is the best thing to happen to Manchester United post Sir Alex Ferguson because of Ronaldo returning to Manchester United, we were able to have Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Those Glazers were never going to sell a portion, a single nickel of the club if Cristiano Ronaldo, the GOAT, had not gone out and given that interview, that bold interview. And everything he said is being seen now, is what is being revealed. I think whenever Sir Jim and INEOS are trying to get solutions for the issues United has, they just replay the Piers Morgan interview and listen to Cristiano Ronaldo. If not, they pick up the phone and call him. And we will know. Because I know if I was a journalist, I got a chance to interview Cristiano Ronaldo, I would ask him whether he has ever had a call from INEOS, anyone from INEOS, because I believe strongly if they really mean what they want to do, they will certainly pick up the phone and call Cristiano Ronaldo because they know he's the one player who will confidently tell them what was happening, and he's the one player who understands football. He has played football at a level only him and Messi have reached. So for me, my thinking is it was not a bad thing for United to have Cristiano Ronaldo back. And in any case, in 40 games, he scored 19 goals. He was still our top scorer when he left. So what do you mean? So the fallout is not him. It's not. It perhaps wasn't the ideal thing to happen, but it had to happen. He was sacrificed himself for the good of the club, and this is where we are. So for me, that's why I will say, even if we complained after him giving that interview, I thought at hindsight, I think it was a brilliant thing. How it ended, I think it goes to the manager and his. But also, I think Eric Ten Hag failed to understand the character and the personality of Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's unfortunate. But Ronaldo, wherever he's gone, he's that character. Even when he knows his own. All I said, when they spoke with Ronaldo, he told him, "I want to play 3 games and rest one. If 4 games, out of 4, I play 3 and I'll be okay to rest the other." He knew it that he was aging. But whenever he was rested for that 1 game, he felt bad because that's who he is. His adrenaline is like that. That's why he's the kind of player he is. He's only one. He's a special player. So for me, I have no issues with his personality. And Ole put it here that there were no issues between him and Cristiano. He tried to lift the dressing room up because he was the star. Just that now, and this is where I go to the key thing for me, he said, just that the young players around him did not have the mentality and character and personality to learn from him. You see, when Ronaldo was at Man United, players like Mason Greenwood were there. There was Marcus Rashford. I think Garnacho was also emerging. I think had come into the squad a bit. Then they had most of these Diogo Dalot, Jadon Sancho, name them. Most of these young players were there. Paul Pogba. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says these players, and Ronaldo said it himself, these players were supposed to learn from Cristiano Ronaldo, and learning from Cristiano Ronaldo is not him talking to them. He's never like that. Ronaldo is not a talker. He does, and you see what he does, that he wakes up early, comes the first at the training ground. He's 37, mind you, the best player of all time. Their role model to all of them in terms of inspiring them as kids. But he's the first at Carrington, the last to leave, shooting and practicing stuff. They just gymming and working out, being so meticulous with his regime. They just had to learn from him. But it's only Diogo Dalot that he mentioned who had the mentality to learn. When I was at Carrington, I saw Diogo Dalot, and when he's going into training, he's a very humble guy. When he's driving into training, he doesn't care about supporters. He's focused on going in. Even the way he just drives the car into Carrington, you see a person. You see, you can read a person and say this person is serious about their business. So Cristiano Ronaldo was there, a big opportunity for most of these players, but because we had the wrong characters in the dressing room, and these are things we are beginning to realize now why this dressing room is a problem to all managers. Because of the bad characters we had, they were never able to play. And I'll tell you, he said there are several players who turned down opportunities to be captains of Man United. Players who are always turning down opportunities to do those pre-match interviews. You know, the interviews where we see players come and talk before the game or even after the game. Can you imagine that it was always and if you recall, he said it, and we used to notice it. It was the same players we used to see all the time. And I see it even now, guys. You can mention the players we see do these interviews. These interviews are always done by Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund. Kobe Maino is coming in a bit. I think Johnny Evans, of course, because that's a legend of the club, he's been around for a long time. Andre Onana is beginning to be interested, but realize that some players hide away from these interviews. I'll give you an example. When did you last see Marcus Rashford's interview? Pre-match or post-match? When did you last see Marcus Rashford being interviewed? Now, these are the things that show you players who do not have the personality, the character to play for a club like Man United. Back then, during the times of the Oles, when they were playing, the Gary Nevilles, everyone would wish, the Ferdinands, they would wish to be the ones to be sent out to go and do those pre-match press conferences. At Chelsea, players said they would want to be the ones Jose Mourinho selects to go and play and make the player interviews. Andre Onana requested Eric Ten Hag after having a terrible game. He said, let me go and speak to the press. That's personality, and that's why you see he's improving now. Harry Maguire, that's personality, character. That's why you see he was stripped of the captaincy, but he was still doing the interviews and he was able to come back on his feet. Those are personalities. The dressing room of Man United has lacked personalities and characters for a long time. Yet these are the players we expect the managers to make use of. Now, he even went on and said, you see, guys, take note of the things that are being said as we try to look at the solution of Man United and the problems. Every coach since Jose Mourinho, who gave Scott McTominay his first chance in the senior team, every coach after that we've had has mentioned at some point Scott McTominay. Yet we all see he's not, in terms of skill, he's not a Man United player in terms of skill, but he's always there. And we were asking at some point, why does Scott McTominay keep playing every game? Clearly, Scott McTominay is the one player who gives his all to all managers, with or without skill. But some of the characters in the dressing room, yet they are on their best. They are lazy. They don't want to play. Solskjaer hinted about the laziness in the squad, and he was trying to compare it to his times when they were playing. And they're saying these generation Z players are difficult to deal with. Guys, there is a huge problem in the dressing room, and that's why Jose Mourinho, and I keep taking you back to some of these statements, that Jose Mourinho said the biggest achievement he's had in his coaching career was making Man United finish second in the Premier League. Now, for me, that was biting. Some people took it personal that Mourinho was disrespecting United. In fact, Mourinho was honored to be coach of Man United. If you all know how he respected Sir Alex Ferguson. But yeah, and we're going to go on with this as we do get in, of course, the talk of the game that's coming because we've got a big one coming. The early kickoff on Saturday. Ernest Kavuta during I think you're saying Louis Van Gaal LVG was playing good football for sure. I think the thing about and I hated the fact that it didn't really work out for Louis Van Gaal. I think I liked Van Gaal. I just like Van Gaal as a manager. That's why I'm even a Dutch fan when it comes to national team football. I support the Dutch national team, but I like Van Gaal anyway as a manager. But the thing is, Van Gaal's football was good, but it was too sluggish. And you see, guys, Man United has a way of playing that the fans will enjoy. That's why I will tell you, if if you play that dull passing football, you just possess the ball all day, all night, however good it looks, Man United fans will not enjoy it. And you see, football is played for the fans. That's the unfortunate bit. You play for the supporters. You can win games of football, the way Eric Ten Hag has been fumbling into victories. But if the fans are not enjoying it, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So I thought Van Gaal we used to pass the ball around way too much, short passes that are aimless, short passes take long to go into the attack. It was boring to watch. You just watch that and say, okay, we are passing, having so much possession, but then what? Yet Man United we love United. That's why we chose United style over Arsenal, who have always been playing a certain way, over Man City, over all these clubs that have been passing and possessing the ball. For us, our style is more of adrenaline. That's why I say Ole's style was a bit close to what we're used to under Sir Alex Ferguson, that were direct with pace. Now, Eric Ten Hag sort of had, in moments in the last season, he sort of tried to play that kind of football. In fact, at some point, I remember I was here and I said, this Eric Ten Hag style could be the United style because it seemed to have a certain directness to his style. It was intense, but then he all of a sudden changed it completely to try and build from the back, and we are seeing a regression from what we were playing last season. Because I think with all the games that season we played under Eric Ten Hag, I think we played better than even the games we've won this season, if you ask me, in terms of how we display our performances. So for me, yes, you said Louis Van Gaal. I think I like the manager, but I think it was way too sluggish. His style was way too sluggish. He needed to add a bit of. You see how Pep Guardiola does it? The way Man City plays now is not the way Barcelona or Bayern played, the tic-taca. Man City passes the ball, but they play longer passes, but they balance with directness. They will not pass the ball all day, all night. They will pass the ball, yes, but they will have a certain bit of directness. And I actually wanted to pay attention and count the number of passes they make before launching an attack. They are fewer than they ever were with Barcelona, if you take note, because he has known that in the Premier League, whereas he has stuck to the basics of his style that he possesses, pass the ball and be entertaining to the fans, you've also got to be direct because the fans want goals and shots on goal and attempts. That's why, if you realize with Man City, even the way they beat us, the goals Foden scored are not goals you would see from Barcelona. At Barcelona, Pep Guardiola's tic-taca, they would pass the ball until the obvious thing is for the ball to be kicked into the back of the net. No shooting, no shooting. But Man City shoots on goal. They shoot at goal because he adjusted a bit. Now, you see that you understand the league you're playing in. That Louis Van Gaal style was never good for the Premier League because it was a little too sluggish. Dixon Camilo Banda, Ole is better than Ten Hag because, guys, do you realize that players, I agree with you, but in terms of what I've seen, the football I've watched being played by the two managers, the thing with Eric Ten Hag is players play like they're on gunpoint. They don't play to enjoy. I honestly don't think Kobe Maino really enjoys himself, and that's why I think we haven't seen a half of his potential. He is not playing to enjoy his football. Players are working. They are like laborers, slaves. That's the Eric Ten Hag style. It's slavery, modern day football slavery. Run and run your hearts out, run your lungs out, run, work hard. Even when he's talking, he praises Bruno for working hard, working hard. Yes, you have to work hard, but you're playing for the footballers, you're talented footballers. Play football and enjoy it. Our boys do not enjoy their football. They are becoming flat. So they don't play with a smile on their faces. And it's very important for players to play with a smile on their face because that's when they will give their best. These players play football because it's what they love, it's what they know. So you can imagine a player slave, slave, slave in America, working day and night, planting sugar, sugar and the trees. When I was in America, did you remember? Did you sing that song in school? I think that's if you are colonized by the whites in class, we used to sing those songs. Uh, Baby Paul says the right manager was Ryan United wanted. Because before you go out to perform, it's like dancing. Me, in my younger years, I was a dancer before I even got into journalism and media. And the one thing I learned, I know that if before you go out to perform on stage as a dancer, you need to understand your audience. Who are you performing for? Because you're not dancing for yourself, you're dancing for the audience. Understand the audience watching you, what they like. You want to go to a corporate audience and start their break dancing. You want to go to a kids audience in high school and start dancing salsa or Latino. So I feel for me, the legends of Man United, that's why we'll keep mentioning. I'm sure one person is going to mention Michael Carrick because I thought for me, Carrick's few games we cleared. In fact, Carrick's few games in charge were the most organized games we've had for Sir Alex Ferguson. Because this guy clearly had a game plan and you would see it in 3 games. What an organizer. But here's the thing the the legends of the clubs knew, having played for this club under the best manager it ever had, they knew what football made Old Trafford want to fall in. What football, created a buzz around the Stratford end, and they felt it on the pitch. What kind of football? The intensity, the adrenaline, the directness, the rush. That's why Paul Scholes was a very important player. That that is what United is all about. They knew it. That's why Ryan Giggs, we mentioned Ole, and I'm sure Michael Carrick, all of you will agree, played something close to what who made us excited. Other managers who have come have struggled to play that because the United way is direct, it's aggressive, it's physical, it's passionate, it's typical English, by the way, the traditional English style. But that's the reason we fell in love with this club. Now, because football has changed and it's a bit modern, it's understandable that you can add a modern touch to the original style of football. And that's why for me, when I see Man United, Sir Jim Ratcliffe pointing to people like Graham Potter, people like Dizabi, I'm like, maybe they can get a balance. Those can get the balance because, again, their football was possession based, but a certain bit of direction. So the modern touch, but with a bit of the roots of Man United, not so far away from it. Maybe with time they can bring it out and it's modern, but Man United, the modern Man United. So for me, it's very, very important. Uh, Alfred Sendwe, what style was Ole playing? I think I've answered that. Charles Malema, I'm enjoying your show, man, and you have a point in what you're saying about Ole. Oh, thank you, brother. Dick, and welcome, Charles Malema. I'm seeing you for the first time. Dixon Camilo Banda, but also Carrick was good for the remaining games we had that time. Exactly. I said it before I even got to your message. I said I am sure some of you guys who have been here long enough will mention Carrick because why? What's common among those? They are all legends of Man United. They understand the football that the fans enjoy. Right now, I will tell you the reason Sir Jim Ratcliffe will fire Eric Ten Hag is because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a Man United fan and is not enjoying Eric Ten Hag's style. However much Eric Ten Hag will come and praise and talk about it, no Man United legend, no Man United fan, no one who really supports Man United will enjoy the style of Eric Ten Hag. That style that puts players under pressure, rather fans under pressure. You see Onana, me whenever I saw Onana pass the ball to Lindelof, close to his box, I'm under pressure. I'm like, what is he doing? Kick it away. No, don't give it to him. So we cannot be like that for 90 minutes. People will stop watching football. That's why under Louis van Gaal, I think we had the lowest attendance in a long time at Old Trafford because of Van Gaal style would put Boer fans and it would put fans under pressure because you're playing so long close to your goal. That's not who we are. For us, we want to stack the ball, go for shoot, run, direct back, beat off one guy, a few skills here and there, go for goal, fail, come back, you know, lose it, come back on the counter, fall someone because they are getting you on the counter. That's aggression. Disorganize the opponent. That's the Man United way. Disorganize your opponent, however good they are, whether you're Arsenal that used to pass the ball until the dogs come home. We shall come and run at you directly and disorganize, have time to pass your ball. And then the adrenaline will go up high and you form a battle you've never seen. That is why Man United games back then, the big games against the big clubs were like battlefields, were like the Clasico every weekend. They were Clasico back, the past El Clasico with Messi and Cristiano on either ends. That's the football we loved as United supporters. And we didn't care how many we concede, we knew we were going to go at you and score. If we failed, it's okay. It happens at times, but we knew we have tried, we have come out there, and that's why even with all the mediocre players we had by the way, and if you go back and look at it, United in games with Sir Alex Ferguson with poor players. That's why I'm saying Eric Ten Hag's excuse of not having the quality, and it's not about the quality of the players exactly. Yes, and I've said they have got bad, we've got some bad apples in there, bad characters in there, which should be out clearly. But even the style he's making them play is not a United style. Mm, um, Alfred Senwe, these players don't want to play with discipline. That's why they wanted Ole. I thought they played well under, they played better under Ole. So, and you see, Ole also did not really get enough time to buy all the players he wanted. Bebe Paul, the problem with Man United is we don't have good scouts. Another thing, I was watching Man United under 18s versus Crystal Palace. Bro, we have the best left back. Go and research our shirt number 3 under 18. That should be Harry Amas. It should be. I don't have to research. It's called Harry Amas, the boy we bought him I think we bought him from Wigan, was it? Just recently. In fact, he was training with the senior team currently. The past week when Luke Shaw got injured, Harry Amas is a baller, proper baller. I'll tell you, we've got some good young kids in Man United, but you see, all these young kids will not do their best if they don't have the right manager and the right structure and system. That's why Sir Jim is trying to assemble a solid team to come and get the best out of these kids. Ernest Kavuta, the majority will vote for because he's not tough like Eric Ten Hag. Okay, Kingsley Hill is only coming back. He's back in the press, but you can't rule it out. You can't rule it out because I think really he seemed to have unfinished business, but also the way he's not rushing to go into a job. But let me ask you guys, let's be real and let's talk about this as United supporters, genuinely. If you look around football today globally and the managers around and where we are, the position we are in as Man United, what are the options? If you are Sir Jim Ratcliffe, what options are available? Let's be, you know, let's be open-minded. What options do you see that are available to come in and manage, coach, and lead this revamp of Man United? You can struggle to identify easy options. You can struggle to find the managers. The thing is, we can talk about guys like Dizabi. We can talk about guys like Graham Potter, like we hear. But let me tell you, managing Manchester United, and the good thing is they're creating a good structure around the manager so that the manager only concentrates on the football. But you see, managing Manchester United, this club has an insane number of supporters globally. Managing Manchester United, you look is Eric Ten Hag, I think, said you can't explain. You can't explain it. Look at how Andre Onana became a bigger star than Drake in overnight when he joined United. Andre Onana became a bigger star than who is the biggest Hollywood star or music artist. Just in months, he has barely been 8 months at Man United. So to be the manager of such a club is so difficult because every decision you make is scrutinized. And there are so many big clubs. We can talk about Arsenal, okay, we can talk about Chelsea, we can talk about Barcelona, Real Madrid. But I don't think any of those clubs gets media attention, gets global attention the way Man United does. None of them, not even Real Madrid. They do not get as much attention. I don't think Jude Bellingham is more known by globally than Andre Onana. Do you know what I mean? That to manage such an institution where, I mean, billions, I think for me, they say we have about 700 million fans globally. I think we are more. I think even those fans who pretend to support Real Madrid also support Man United. Some, I think even some Arsenal fans support Man United or Liverpool fans. They pretend. The thing is, this club has got a huge, powerful, vocal fan base that to manage it takes a special personality and character, not just the. In fact, to manage and succeed at Man United, you don't need to have the best tactics. Sir Alex Ferguson, I believe strongly, never had the best tactics. You need to have a certain personality and character because the thing is, every player you get in that dressing room, one day like this at United is worth 10 years at Man City. Because the moment a player joins Man United, he's a superstar, a global superstar. And then imagine you have about 25 global superstars on your hands and you're the manager. These ones are earning these crazy amounts of money. These ones are stars wherever they go to their homes. They have lost their mind. These days there is social media. They are praised. It's very difficult to get the best out of them. This is not a Brighton. So it takes a lot to manage a team like Manchester United. That's why for me, I would, if in the state we are in, for such gym, if there was a good guy who has been there before, a good manager who we've seen, maybe a former player of the club who we've seen has got the potential, the character, the personality. He's been there. He has worked with these players. Me, I would prioritize such a person because they would not have a lot to deal with when they come. They will not, because I'll give you an example. I'm for Michael Carrick personally. I love Michael Carrick. I think he's extremely smart. I loved him as a footballer. I look at Michael Carrick. I feel like Michael Carrick can go unbeaten, can be the next guy who can go unbeaten in the Premier League. I feel like he can do what Jabi Alonso is doing with Bayer Leverkusen. Because I look at the two and I'm thinking, even as players, the managers they went through, I think their story is the same. They're all calm personalities, but extremely important and smart for their teams. And what one had on the national team, the other was denied by managers who didn't know football, who are regretting up to today. Teammates and managers alike are all regretting they could have won titles, the World Cup, if managers knew that Michael Carrick was the secret. But all managers were doing the obvious, fearing to bench Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, or Gerrard. So they would play all of them at the expense of Carrick, yet Carrick was the most important English player for a long time. For Spain, Alonso, whereas was not as fancy as the Javis and Iniestas, he was always there and they were winning titles. Smart managers. These English guys failed to deal with that. The thing is, I think Michael Carrick, for me, the way he's respected by all players, he's been there, he's a character. For me, Michael Carrick, at some point, I don't know whether he should be the next, but I believe strongly at some point Michael Carrick is going to return and be manager of Manchester United at the right time. Maybe he's still, you know, getting the experience and all and building the character, the personality. You know, you learn a thing, but at the right time. And when he comes, trust you me, he will not leave. With this structure they're creating, Carrick, guy is a genius. Asimu Isaac, Ole was a good coach. The fact that he's a legend, he definitely knew the culture of the club. However, he didn't perform well when it came to criticism. Yeah, and you see, that's it's difficult. It comes with time. I think you build it. That's why I said Man United is a difficult club to manage because of not just the tactics on the pitch, but the criticism. Yes, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the media? If you're a soft body like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, it's different. If you're Eric Ten Hag, who is a sort of a stoic character, a bit stubborn, has got this arrogance to him. You know, Eric Ten Hag is a rich kid, the son of a rich man in the Netherlands. So yeah, that's why he has that arrogant personality and character. That's why he was never going to bend to Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. So if you're that kind of character, the fans will come at you and you will come and tell them how you played, how Man City is not that far ahead of us. Sheer arrogance. Yeah. You heard that we said after being beaten, the way we were beaten by Man City, he said the difference, the gap between Man City and United is not that big. That's what he said. Then he says the players showed character after losing to Fulham at home. Very funny, stubborn guy. He will pull off Hoyland when the whole world clearly sees it's a wrong decision, and he will come out in the press and defend it arrogantly, which is partly good, but it's also funny. Hmm? So characters are different. So not that Ole was weak, but you see, you cannot miss a good manager just because they couldn't take criticism. You can learn over time. Over time, you learn. He was a young manager. Over time, you learn. But I'm not saying he shouldn't have left really. I think at that time, for me, we're still on the journey. But yeah, Samuel Eriokot, I enjoyed Ole's football and Eric Ten Hag. Seriously, Eric Ten Hag has no new plans, tactics, or style. One trick pony. He surprised me. That's why I praised him. His game plan against City. He surprised me and he did not come with the same style. But before that, he was a one trick pony. Keeps doing the same thing, repeat the same thing, same thing, same thing. One trick pony. Very bad. You need to be able to tweak things and change things around. Asimwe Isaac, I mean criticizing players post Sir Alex Ferguson, we lost the culture, and that's where Ten Hag is winning. The only issue is these players don't want to put in the work. Ten Hag is doing some of those things, some things right. He's doing maybe a lot of things right. I mean, because these are lazy players, these are players who are not good enough. Because even under Ole, he's just telling us some of these characters were not the right players, really. The players are bad, that's the thing. But for me, that does not take away the fact that I don't think I like Eric Ten Hag's style of football. Doesn't take away that fact. Even if he gets the players he wants, his Mason Mounts, who will come and put in the work, I think still the style of football he plays, where Andre Onana is going to pass the ball to a centre back who is sandwiched by Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, and Erling Haaland. And you're telling me that is the style where you pass the ball to that midfielder with close to your box. I will never enjoy that football because I will be watching with a whatever, with a cannula or whatever they call a drip on a drip because my pressure, high blood pressure, my pressure will go up. That's not football for me. That's not for me. So Paul is better. We go for Alonso. Look at him at Leverkusen. Alonso. Alonso. The conversation of Alonso is an interesting one. There are so many battles for Alonso. I don't think, for me, I would to go for Alonso. I would go for Carrick or go back to Ole at the very worst. I wouldn't go for Alonso because he's not our guy. He's not our legend. He's not. There's that something. Yes, he can be a professional, good manager, and he will be respected by all the players and all, but he won't have the cut. We won't. I don't think we will connect with him really. Assuming Isaac playing for United doesn't come at ease. We need the character. How can you lose a game to your compete and then you go to the dressing room and start dancing? The character Jesse and Pogba had, man. But I just saw somewhere today that Pep Guardiola banned Wi-Fi in the dressing rooms at Man City. So a long time ago, players were frowning and what, and it worked. He banned Wi-Fi. So I think Eric Ten Hag changed things at Old Trafford, where what was the away team's substitute bench now became the home team. He changed things around. He's quite a personality. Ernest Kavuta, Carrick, yes, but don't dream about Wayne Rooney. He can take us to exile. Now, Ernest, where did you come with this whole Wayne Rooney situation? Wayne Rooney dreams of managing Man United, but bro, I don't know. He would still have a long way to go. Not that he can't, because guys, the reality is management takes time. Some people learn, with experience and all. But man, Wayne Rooney's tactics, I would be interested to see. I saw him at what team did he manage first? Was it Derby County? And yeah, at Derby he tried a bit, but he felt so bad that he failed to perform at Birmingham. It hit him so hard. He felt betrayed that they promised him to give him money and time to buy players, but I think they just saw it wasn't working. Rooney and for Rooney at least he got a chance. The other guy who I saw who was complaining for not getting the opportunities after making so many fancy presentations was the former England captain John Terry. He said he gave up because he made so many applications, presented to guys, and they seemed to be happy and excited about whatever he was doing, but somehow he was never given the jobs. And he felt so disrespected, even in clubs in France and all. Guys, nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. Respect the Jose Mourinho's and the likes. You should respect them. Uh, yeah, let me just rush to the poll a bit and see how it's going so far. How it is going so far. Now, who is Man United's best manager post Fergie? 41% of you say it's Ole, 18% say Mourinho, 35% are for Ten Hag, and 6% say Van Gaal. None of you thinks David Moyes is. Interesting. So now let's talk about the players maybe for a bit. So today I was trying to follow. I was trying to follow the training, and I think we could see Kambwala play a couple of minutes against Everton. You see, for me, when I look at the training uh, images and video, follow the training, I think I try to get an idea of who could start, so or who could get some minutes. I think against Everton, Kambwala could have some minutes. These are some images from the training today. That's Marcus Rashford. Saw his feet. He was feared injured as he was substituted off at the Etihad Stadium, but he was training. You can see him controlling the ball like Anthony did one time. Hmm? So yeah, Marcus Rashford he's there looking fit. I saw and I'm seeing interviews being shared of Ahmad. He might also have some minutes against Everton. I think he was training so well. Look at him, unlucky player there, not really the manager's favorite. Then we have yet to have a proper update on Hoyland and whether or not he will be there, but it is expected that he could travel with the team. He could be with the team. As you can see there, Scott Garnacho trying to psych himself up for that game because you do recall he scored that beautiful goal in the reverse fixture against Everton. So he will be hoping he can do the same. Some young kids as well trained with the senior team today. So yeah, so we have Everton coming. It's a high pressure game without a doubt because Eric Ten Hag is reportedly under pressure because he was given a 3-game ultimatum, and this is the first of the three. And trust you me, uh, I'm really optimistic about the structure INEOS is building. Yeah, this is Asim Isaac. Yeah, it's a good structure. I mean, from the board. Now, then you look at the constitution of the board, like the people who make up the board, and you have, of course, Sir Jim sitting there. You've got a glazer. Then, of course, why do I mention the glazer? They are there just to monitor their cash, but just to feel present. But they will not contribute anything sensible anyway. I don't envision Sir Jim sitting in a boardroom with Omar Berada and Jean Claude Jean Claude Blanc and and then a glazer says what? What will he contribute to the discussion? So they are discussing players and tactics and the future and the structure. They will be clueless. They only care about their NFL. They'll just be thinking about their football. So they are just there to monitor their cash. But so the structure is good. And Oli mentioned something that uh, the structure under the Glazers was a bit different. Of course, Ed Woodward was there and would had so how they were signing players, recruiting players under Ole was United has got so many scouts, so many of them. And he said, in fact, he says he doesn't think they would miss a good player globally. Like, I think that's how many scouts are. So if you've got your kids playing football there with you in Malawi, in Zambia, in Nigeria, in the UK, wherever you are, just know United has got enough scouts everywhere, according to Ole. And he said But you see, it's funny. All these scouts did not accept or allow, even if they had all the stats. Ole kept telling them to sign Erling Haaland. Ali, when he was still, because he played with him in Norway at Molde. Then he went to Salzburg before going to Dortmund. And he told them to sign him. Even before he was manager at Man United, he called and said, please sign this boy. They refused. Called again when he was at Salzburg. They refused. Ends up at Man City. For Jude Bellingham, he came there and I told you that story here before. He came there. He went to Carrington, and he met when he went there. Coincidentally, there were all these great players. I think the likes of Eric Cantona, these legends of Man United were there. It was a coincidence, so they all met him, and he was with his family. But he was clear. He was 17, but he confidently told them what he wanted. He was dictating how many minutes he should be guaranteed, and United were not willing to give him that, and he left. And look where he is now. But anyway, everyone has their journey crafted. But anyway, the thing is, the structure that they are creating that has got Jean-Claude Blow on the board. You have Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You have now the composition of that board with Sir Jim is more, of course, now he's a businessman. He's a smart guy. You're not the richest man in the UK by mistake. Even if you may not know so much about football, he's smart enough to listen to these guys who know football and advise them and tell them, you know what, that's wrong. That's not worth it. From his experience doing business and all the deals he has done. So Sir Jim, top fresh guy. Then you have Jean-Claude Blow, who is a former top CEO, highly rated in Europe, has all these contacts, very important. That's the one thing that made Sir Alex Ferguson different from all the managers during his time and after him. He would just pick up the phone and people will listen if it's Sir Alex Ferguson calling. Wants to sell a player, picks up the phone, calls the owner of Lazio. Wants to buy a player, picks up the phone, calls Arsene Wenger. Himself contacts now. Right now, you won't have Eric Ten Hag have all that respect and contacts and stuff. But if you have a guy who is respected in football on the board, like Jean-Claude Blow, then you know that that's a top addition, but can also make experienced decisions with knowledge of how the game works on a more global perspective. So proper composition. Then on the same board, you have the CEO reporting. That's Omar Berada, a guy who was heading sports for a whole group at City. A guy who was partly both involved in negotiations, player contracts, and also coming up with the structure and tactics and style for Man City, sat in the same boardroom with Tiki Bergerstein, Pep Guardiola, and the other former chairman, the other chairman of Man City. So you understand the understanding. He was running operations and all the understanding of what has got to be done. So you see how well constituted that board is. Now it's the one on top. Then you've got this CEO because the CEO reports to the board. So he comes on the board to report what's going on. That's why he sits there, not a board member per se. So after that, you've got the CEO who is now in charge of the daily, how the everything works. That's the CEO. Then below him, so he knows the business but also the game. The CEO has, because this is a football club, you need a CEO who understands and appreciates the football and the business, not just one-sided. Then below him, they are put in place. They are looking to recruit. They are mentioning the head of head of recruitment, and they are talking of first the director of football, Dan Ashworth, that guy who is on a gardening leave now. Even Omar Berada is on a gardening leave, by the way. So Dan Ashworth is below there, sporting director. So his job is to create the playing style, the identity. Give us the identity. How shall we play? Define our DNA. Which player we have. What should the United player look like? What's the profile of a United defender, goalkeeper, midfielder? How do we play? What everything. But all girls, young, the kids, everything for the entire football department at United. So you have Dan Ashworth with his profile, having worked with England, put in place the England DNA, which has seen the success England is enjoying now. That we believe England will actually could win the Euros or the World Cup at some point. I think they are the best. They have the best players in the world right now, if you ask me, by far, by the way. They just need to be able, and all this is because they created the DNA, and it's Dan Ashworth who did it with Gary Southgate. That's why Gary Southgate was given that job after him working with the under 21s, I think. for a long time because they saw he was growing with these players and under a structure that was also growing. So him and Ashworth did magic together. So that's Dan Ashworth there. Then below Dan Ashworth, you have a head of player recruitment, the Crystal Palace guy, who it is believed Dougie Friedman. We went and tried to speak to him. Now this Dougie Friedman is the guy who is responsible for players like Michael Olise, these are Mark Guehi's, name them. So Friedman was a coach as well. He has coached football before. You understand the knowledge of football there. That's the structure. Then below him, you have the head of technical and performance management. That's Jason Wilcox, the Southampton sporting director. Proper, he's a sporting director, meaning he has got a proper, serious understanding of the game. Now he's coming to work with all these guys with him. Then you have the manager. So you realize how strong the structure is. It's all football knowledge. One person can say too many chefs will spoil the food, but trust you me, at this point, desperate moments always call for desperate measures. We are that desperate that those too many chefs are needed, unless it becomes a disaster. But let's first try to see. There's only one way to find out. So for me, like someone said, who is it? Asimwe Isaac? Yes, I too like the structure that I've just explained to you. There is no way that structure won't work. And there is no way we shall recruit the wrong players with that structure because it's not going to be all sitting with some Spanish scouts we don't know. That's what he said. That's how they are recruiting players. So they have so many lists, and then like I explained it to you here sometime for those of you who have been around long. And then they come with the scouts and they disagree, and then they zero down on Anthony and agree to pay 85 million quid. It's not going to happen like that. How on earth do you sign an Anthony with all those people I've told you and their knowledge of football? It's impossible. So you see the change and how important it will be. Asim Isaac is developing and trying to build character in management. Change is difficult. Many people will not accept, but for what's worth, sometimes it works out. Let's give Ten Hag 2 more seasons. Well, I wouldn't mind giving Eric Ten Hag time because some of his signings and every manager gets some signings wrong. But for me, actually, I can't. I've never judged Eric Ten Hag on his signings because it's not even him alone. I wouldn't. But me, I I sometimes feel like maybe when he gets the right players, because his players are also not good enough, maybe his right players will be comfortable with his overrunning style and they will execute it. I'm just generally biased. I don't think that style, even if he got the best players to execute it, I don't think it will be sustainable in the English Premier League. I think it's too demanding. His style is too demanding for any human. That's my thing. But also, I think with time he can learn to soften up a bit. Of course, now the way he came in to assert himself, he had to be so hard the way he was. That's why he earned the respect. Because trust you me, these players sacked David Moyes on arrival. He was saying in an interview, and Wayne Rooney actually is the one who said it, that when he arrived, David Moyes arrived, certain players were clearly not going to play for him. Clearly, they just rejected him on arrival. Now you can imagine because Moyes is a soft guy. What you see, how he was being walloped by Arsenal, and fans were walking out, and you see how he was all faulting and frowning on the touchline. No character, no personality. Eric Ten Hag will swallow 7, and he will come out in the press and talk and tell you how Man City or Liverpool is not that far away from them. That's character and personality, which is good. So yeah, I wouldn't really mind Eric Ten Hag being given one more for us to see what he would do if he does really get his players, sticks to his style. It could turn out to be actually amazing, and I would be the happiest. Uh, Asimu Isaac, I'm really optimistic about the structure. Okay, Asimu, having read about what achievements of Dave Brailsford in English cycling team, we should hope for the best. That guy and his marginal gains, trust you me, hey, you will see. He's not called Sir by mistake, guys. Sir. You know what it means to be called Sir? Sir Dave Brailsford. Sir. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not called Sir by mistake. There are so many great businessmen in the UK. He's not called Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Sir by mistake. Sir Alex Ferguson is not called Sir. Pep Guardiola can win all these things and win all he needs to, but he needs to earn the sir. By the time you're called sir, so Dave Brailsford being called Sir Dave Brailsford, there is something about him that, trust you me, is special, and we're beginning to see it. Dixon Camilo Banda. We hate to see Man United defeated twice to the same team, especially for the big six like Arsenal, Tottenham, City, Chelsea, Liverpool. We don't concentrate marking dangerous players for okay players. Yeah, game plan. Ernest Kavuta, this question is for you, Webb. Do you think a coach can really show success in 2 seasons only? No, 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 no. They can't. I don't think a coach can show success in 2 seasons. I think a coach can show progress in 2 seasons. I don't expect Eric Ten Hag to be successful, not even in the environment. I don't expect him to be successful. But in 2 seasons, I expect a coach to show progress. Progress. That's where I'm divided. We are progressing in some things, like his character and personality and what and da da da. But the football on the pitch is it's confusing. Hmm? You can show progress in 2 seasons, even 1 season, even in 5 games, you can show progress. Because we've seen managers before. Michael Carrick, you and watch videos of the 3 games Michael Carrick was in charge of Man United as interim manager. 3 games like this. Play them. Play all games we have played this season as Man United. You will see that the other 3 games showed something. You would clearly see something what is being done in training. For me, that's my issue. If you're a manager, however bad, whereas these players are bad, they don't work hard, you cannot tell me they are too bad that they cannot even understand. They are professional footballers earning all this money, but they cannot even understand how to play under structure. At least they would give an idea but fail to execute it properly. But you would see that they are playing under this structure. I struggle to see properly the structure and say, okay, Marcus Rashford is not good enough for this style, but the style is this. Works with Eric Ten Hag because this is how even Sir Alex Ferguson struggled. Maybe it had to look, sometimes you have to look so bad for you to look good. Sometimes you have to look so ugly to die a little for you to resurrect and reach utopia. I hope it does. But you see, Sir Jim is a fan of the club. I don't know how he sees it. It's confusing. You want to defend Eric Ten Hag, but sometimes even we guys who are for Eric Ten Hag, there are games we've watched, seen certain decisions, seen the style against the kind of opponent, and we are saying, okay, we know these players are not good enough. Okay, this player Rashford has the bad attitude. We know that Andre Onana was making errors. We know that this problem is there, but really, we cannot be bossed by Luton at home. We can't even put 3, 4, 5 good passes together. There is a problem there. So, like I say, for me, I'm at crossroads when it comes to Eric Ten Hag. I love certain bits about him. I also don't want us to keep firing and hiring managers. I feel he has tried to put certain things right. He has brought in important players. He has given opportunities to young players. There are also things I feel, but generally the football, in terms of the work, what we deliver on the pitch, the football being, maybe his assistants are not doing enough because mostly it's the assistants who should teach these players what to play and how to play, because the manager is managing all this crazy nonsense from the club. Manager is beyond just being on the pitch every day to work with the players. Maybe the assistants don't know, the head coach, whoever, don't know how to execute his philosophy well for the players to understand it. But it's you struggle to see it, and it's bad. It's bad. If I'm not wrong, I think Ferguson got Man United relegated in his first 2 seasons. I think later he got things right. I think Ten Hag is trying to work with the kind of players he has at his exposure. Well, yeah, but we know how bad we were really. So maybe these players are really that bad. But Sir Alex Ferguson relegated? No way. He would have been sacked on arrival. But he struggled. He won his first trophy came after I think 5 or 4 years. but there was patience there. They were so patient with him. Guys, it's exactly 1 hour. Thank you so much. You guys have got to retire. And someone, Namutev is not here today. She was asking how to become a member. So if you subscribe, that's not being a member. A member contributes to the channel, you know. So the link is up there. You can join if you wish to. It's pinned. That's how you become a member. Click on the link and follow the prompts. Very, really, it's very easy. Thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves a good night, and let's talk Man United more tomorrow. Look at Man City players Pep found at City. Yeah, they were bad. He cleaned them out, but you see, they were also even the bad players were playing well under his structure because he created a structure so fast, a style. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Have a good night, a good morning, a good evening. Bless you.